Can you guys see that now? Thanks for bearing with me and thanks for coming tonight. Okay, so we're going to talk about what is internal family systems peer support tonight. Now, my journey with internal family systems began with a dream I had. They call those sometimes anchor dreams, where you you just have this dream that is like super powerful, super, like, you can't forget it. It's just one of those dreams where it just makes an impact, you know what I mean? So I had a dream like that, and I had always had, like, vivid dreams. I always remembered them, but I never really understood them. Sometimes I did, most of the time I didn't. Um, and this one was one where I really wanted to know what it meant. And so I started buying up dream interpreting books and figuring something out, a way to decode it. And my background my educational background is sociology. And so I remembered Carl Jung from back in college, and he was one of my favorite sociologists. And so I was like, oh, he's into dreams. And I started going down that rabbit hole, and I just loved everything that I was reading and learning. And I have been a lifetime journaler or diary keeper. I had my first diary in fifth grade, and I've been writing ever since. And so when I saw this quote, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, it just resonated with me because I just felt like knowing who we are has been the best gift and tool for me for self-discovery and personal growth, and self-care. Like, those are my core values. And it's because I just feel like the more I know myself, the better life I can create for myself. And um, so all that to say, the dream and the dream decoding was the beginning of my internal family systems journey. Um, the dream started, it had different characters in it. I'm going to move this. Are these little, when I move these little faces, are you seeing that or not? Or am I the only one seeing that? You don't see the pictures going around the screen? Okay, good. um, so Partswork, I love this little picture on the left. It's from one of the books that I have. Partswork is about all the different personalities that we have inside. Like, part of me, even maybe not now, but used to be athletic. And there are parts of me that are motherly. There are parts of me that are very business and task oriented. I have some wise parts, and I have some bossy parts that think I'm right. We all have these different parts of ourselves. And when I started doing dream decoding, it was a tool that I used for figuring out what my emotions were, because the characters in my dreams were sharing emotions that I was realizing were mirroring my waking life emotions. So it was like my parts were just telling me, hey, we have big emotions. And we're going to play them out in these stories in your dreams. And it became kind of a game for me, and which is something I needed during that season of life, um, because I had just gone through a divorce and life was hard. And I just was looking for a way to connect and feel connected with myself in a new way, a different way, a spiritual way, but not a religious way. And the internal family systems framework fit where I was at the time for wanting to feel bonded with myself and learning how to listen to my intuition and my gut and my wise parts before listening to what someone else is telling me what to do. And the internal family systems framework has what they call the 8 C's and the 5 P's. So the goal of internal family systems and parts work is to really get your system, your internal system of all these different personalities that we have to feel like they can express these things: curiosity, courage, compassion, clarity, connectedness, creativity, calm, confidence, persistence, patience, playfulness, presence, and perspective. So that's the goal is that we have self energy, self-led energy, and that we're making our decisions in life and creating the life we want while we're feeling these things, these 8 C's and 5 P's. That's kind of the goal, the end goal. And that we're not responding from triggers, but we're reacting from a place of groundedness. So essentially, the parts work is listening and then validating and then responding. And that's what we do in peer support. And that's what we do in dream interpretation. And parts work is we're listening to the feeling and then we're validating it and saying, okay, that makes sense. That's legit. And then responding with compassion and responding in a way that isn't like our childhood upbringing, whatever it was for you, but building that bond with self because we're responding to those parts of ourselves that in a way that we wanted to be responded to as a child. So we can kind of reparent ourselves with parts work. And so peer support is kind of twofold. What we're doing with peer support is we're supporting our own systems with compassion and validation, but that's what we're also doing together in our group here is we're supporting each other by validating and listening and being a witness to whatever it is you're going through. It's being with, right? So just kind of the core pieces of peer support is witnessing feelings by paying attention, acknowledging feelings by saying, that makes sense. We also mirror back feelings that we hear the other person expressing. We ask questions to follow up and allow them to come up to their own conclusions. So there's not advice giving. It's just listening and saying, what do you think this means? And we're encouraging each other to follow up with a therapist because, again, none of us here are therapists. We're just all on the journey together and learning and growing together. So none of us is more wise than the other. And what I support here is that everybody has their own therapist, in case something, big emotions arise. It's good to have someone to go to talk it out with and do your parts work with somebody who is trained to do it. We don't do that here. We don't talk to exiles or try and help you unburdened or unblend. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is supporting each other in your own internal family systems journey. And some people here have group therapy, personal therapy, no therapy. That, that's your decision, but that's what's recommended. Um, what I like to do with this group is give you ideas of how you can do daily parts work. And then we also have a Marco Polo group for weekly peer support. If you have a dream that's just like, oh, this dream, I want to know what it's about, we can get on the Marco Polo, talk it out, and give some ideas and give some feedback. Or if you're doing artwork and you're just like, guys, I had this big aha moment, and you want to share your art, that's something that we welcome on the Marco Polo group or text or whatever. So um, as far as the daily parts work, this is what's worked for me, and this is what we do together when we come on a call once a month. Sometimes we do dream work and decoding. Other times we'll do journaling together and share our writings. And then sometimes we just do art together over Zoom, together. And we visit while we work. And then sometimes we just talk. We've considered doing book studies. We haven't done one yet, but there's always that option to just say what you need, and we'll start a book club. um, this, in a nutshell, is how we do the dream interpretation. I won't go into super detail tonight, but basically, for the dream decoding, the process is to describe the story in like a summary, a brief summary where you just um, kind of use very general terms to explain what the dream actions are. And then we look at how it mirrors your real life situations. Because what we're looking for here is where the energy is going, where the emotions are bubbling up. And the actions, the metaphors, the setting, those are all clues that help us figure out, how is this dream story similar to my waking life story? And sometimes the purpose of the dream is just to make you aware of the emotions. Other times it's giving you a clue, saying, if the energy keeps going this direction, this is what might happen. Sometimes it gives a warning, and sometimes it just gives you, it's so exaggerated and so loud of a dream. It's just giving you another perspective to consider so that you're not locked into just looking at the emotions in one way. So the dreams are the way we start the conversation with our parts. Writing strengthens the bond. We're going to talk about writing next. And art is how we move the emotions through the body with movement. And art could be anything. It could be gardening. It could be painting, just what I've done because it's easy for me. Paint by number is super easy for me. And I just sit down. I don't have to figure out what I'm doing. But it could be any kind of art, crocheting, or even just going for a walk. I know that's not art, but you can find awe and beauty in nature, and it kind of gives you those same dopamine hits and opportunities for reflection. Writing or journaling is the way that we use to connect with the parts and hear and do the questioning, do the peer support internally, inside. And so I have a system, a writing prompt that we use over and over. It never gets old. And it's just a way to start conversations with the parts of us, that you become aware of in the dreams. And so this is basically how it goes. We start with gratitude because that opens up your mind to be relational. And once you're in that relational place, in your head, you through the gratitude, then you can start asking questions like, hey, I see how you're feeling. I hear the thoughts that you're having. I understand why this is a big emotion for you. And what do you want me to know? What do you need from me? How can we connect more? So again, it starts with the dream, making you aware so you can notice the feelings. The writing is the second step, just digging a little bit deeper, validating the feelings, saying, I care that you have that these parts are having these feelings. Um, and the what do you need from me, or what can I do to help, how can I be with you in this, is where the art piece fits in, because then you're spending time. In my eyes, I think of it as quality time with my parts. I'm sitting here painting a picture of what one of my parts might look like, or I'm making a spoon out of pottery because I just want to be held and I don't want to be there's a part of me that doesn't want to hold everybody's messes, or clean up everybody else's messes. I just want to be the one held. And so, the art takes on meaning because it's the parts work continued. It's me building that bond in just another way, using my hands instead of just thinking it. And it's working it out of my system in it, or working it into my system in a different way. Other ways that I've integrated the art and the dreams and the writing is just with EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique. We don't do a lot of that together, but I do recommend it. It's been helpful for me just to do privately on my own. Morning pages is another way of journaling, just automatic writing, that has been helpful to me when I don't feel like going through all the prompts. Something a little bit more quick and fast. Um, you might have your own daily rituals, listening to astrology, or pulling a tarot card, whatever those things are that help you feel grounded and connected to your parts. By all means, do it. But the whole goal of it is to just have an ongoing conversation that just continues. It's not like when you go to therapy, you have a conversation with your therapist and then you book it another session in a month or 6 weeks, and you start over and you recap and you say, well, this is what's happened in the past month. But it's not a lot of flow. And so what we're hoping with this system is that your internal parts don't feel neglected, abandoned, pushed aside. They feel important, and like you're looking at them and acknowledging them consistently, and there's an internal trust being built, and you start to understand each other's language. And so, like, the dream decoding is a whole language of its own, but talking with your parts is a language of its own too. And at some point, they kind of start to mesh, and it starts to make sense, and you start to think, oh, this metaphor, this clue is a nod to me from my parts. It's making a connection here. It's reaching out to me to tell me something, and I'm going to listen and try and notice. So, in a nutshell, that's what we do when we come together for the Soul Circles monthly meeting. And like I said, we also have got the Marco Polo group, where we can connect midweek if we want to. But the purpose is providing a space for curiosity and compassion and self-discovery. There's not like, we don't come together and like learn a bunch of stuff. I mean, yes, sometimes we do talk about the dream decoding and, process or whatever, but for the most part, it's pretty laid back, and we just come and check in with each other and say, how's your parts work going? And, what What can we support you with? And what do you want to talk about tonight? And just having that compassionate listening and somebody witnessing your life as it unfolds and not telling you what you should do, but just saying, what do you think you should do? There's just something healing about that. Um, and empowering about people looking at you saying, we trust you to make the right decision for yourself. That feels good. And that's what we're trying to offer each other here. So let's see here. Go to the next one. If you are wanting a few freebies, I've got a dream decoding guide that talks a little bit more in depth about that dream acronym and how I do the dream decoding, and commonly asked questions answered, 10 commonly asked questions. Those are both on my website, artsypartswork.com. So that's it for the presentation. Thank you all for listening. And if you have any questions, I'm willing to answer them.